Today is Friday, October 2nd, 2020, and today I'm thinking about a topic that I don't really have many answers to, so I'll try to keep this video short. It's something I just have a lot of questions about in Lamentations. I'm thinking about the spirit versus the flesh, and how, to me, the problems of the flesh, living in the flesh like we do right now, is problematic and painful to me, in the same way that people often think about the problem of evil and how, man, it sucks that we have to live here with evil and that so much evil exists. And people wonder about, well, why does evil exist? And for that, I feel like I have at least a little bit of possible reasoning. I don't claim to know the answer to any of these things, but maybe free will is at the root of why evil exists, because God gave us free will, and God wanted to find the spirits that would choose the truth and would choose righteousness when given that choice. If no evil existed at all, maybe we would just all be soulless and not have a choice, right? Something that doesn't have a choice would be like a computer. We would just be like a computer and not actually able to make our own choices. So that I feel like I have some understanding of. But then the flesh, it really sucks living in this flesh, and I don't even want to be a part of it anymore. I see that so much of this is just vanity, and we're not going to live like this in the kingdom. And so I guess just similar to how people often think of, oh, why all the evil? Why all the evil? I guess just right now I'm having similar lamentations about why the flesh? Why do we have to live here in the flesh if it's so important to worship God in spirit? And maybe this is just part of it, part of the learning experience, that we're supposed to come to these understandings that the flesh is terrible and full of tons of drawbacks, even though certain things can feel good every once in a while, eating stuff that tastes great, other earthly pleasures. Overall, it's just a bunch of drawbacks and pain and misery and suffering. I'm barely 30 and have aches and pains and feel like my body's already starting to fall apart. My teeth are not horrible, but still I have way more holes drilled in them than I would ever want to at such a young age. And always carrying my stress around in my neck and in my jaw, having to stop myself, just noticing that I'm clenching my jaw or scrunching my shoulders. The flesh is just uncomfortable, and I want to shed it, and I want to be free. I feel like I'll be free when we can break free from this, and that our glorified bodies are going to be different and just so amazing. And so I guess, again, why are we here suffering in the flesh? It used to be different, and it's going to be different. So what's going on right now? And I don't have answers to that, really. But similar to how God sent himself in the flesh, Jesus Christ, to be persecuted by the evils of the world, and the same thing is happening to us. Similar, God sent himself in the flesh to suffer in the flesh, how we are suffering in the flesh. And we're not above God. Well, I'm just going to read these verses. Again, this is a video of questions, not answers, so I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Luke chapter 23, starting at verse 46. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And notice here that Jesus is commending his own spirit into God's hands. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. Now when the centurion saw what was done, he glorified God, saying, Certainly this was a righteous man. And all the people that came together to that sight, beholding the things which were done, smote their breasts and returned. And all his acquaintance and the woman that followed him from Galilee stood afar off, beholding these things. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just. The same had not consented to the counsel and deed of them. I'm guessing they mean that he was appointed the position and didn't seek after it himself. He was of Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God. This man went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. This was the part that I think is relevant to today's video, and it just really struck me when I read it and made me start thinking about this. Because here, he's begging for the body of Jesus, and then the contrast with this, and he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid. Just the usage here of it. This is the body of Jesus Christ. This is the body of the Messiah. And this verse, it just goes straight in there with the it, calling the body of Jesus Christ it, because we are not our bodies. The soul, Jesus's ghost, already went away. And so that just really struck me when I was reading this, and it's calling Jesus's body it. Because most humans, if their loved one dies, could you imagine them calling the body it? And this is right afterwards, right after Jesus had given up the ghost. So this is what made me think about this today. I'll just read this again. And he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. And the women also which came with him from Galilee followed after and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment. Here are just two more verses on the subject. Matthew chapter 22, verse 30. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. We're going to get glorified bodies, and everything is going to be different. It's not going to be like here, which I guess is bringing me back to just my original thoughts. Why here like this in the flesh if things are going to be so different? Do you have any thoughts? Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. And I'm going to end reading from John chapter 4, starting at verse 23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. God bless everyone.